Today we are diving into the art of dungeon building. Maybe you need to create an epic dungeon crawl or need something quick for your game night. Either way, we're diving deep into how to do it on this episode of Masters of Pen and Paper.
Finny and DG lead the way. New RPG systems every day. Dice roll quick adventure calls. Walking through tabletop's golden halls. Masters of pen and paper. RPGs of every flavor. Talking about different creators. The choice of games is never greater. Come with us to games they run through. New, old, and interesting. Thank you all for listening.
Welcome in, everybody. My name is DG. Welcome to another episode of Masters of Pen and Paper. I got my main man here with me. His name is
Finny. Hello.
How are you doing? I am ready to jump into another episode of Behind the Screens. It is our every few episodes we do one of these podcasts where we take a little bit of break from the game rules and we want to talk to you about being a GM and being a player and how to actually play the games that we've been telling you about.
And we don't really want to read another rule book, so this is our time, our break.
This is our rule book break and oftentimes it lines up that we do a hefty game after, so it takes a little bit of extra effort to get through them because we want to make sure we're doing all the things. Finny, today we're talking about dungeon building, and I gotta say, I quite enjoy dungeon building.
I do. So I like conceptualizing dungeons.
Yep.
I hate building dungeons.
The actual building, see, the thing is, like, I'm an ideas guy, right? Like, that's my thing. So I've got books and notes and, like, here's an idea for a dungeon. And I have these ideas. The thing that I don't like is the creating of the maps and the getting noodly with things. Right? If we could be the type of group where I could just bust out the magic marker and literally draw the map out on paper, and everyone would have the same amount of fun as they would if I spent hours and hours on literally creating the map, I'd be a happy guy.
Yeah, I hear that.
But that's not how it is.
For what it's worth, we could do that.
We could. I mean, it's not that we wouldn't have fun. It's that I think the level of immersion comes in from putting that extra effort,
that
into
little
detail.
Extra detail into it.
Yes, I mean, it's just like, you know, you can have a hamburger from McDonald's, or you can have one homemade, and that homemade one just tastes better for some reason. You know,
it's still a hamburger, but it's
still
a
a
completely different meal.
It's just wildly different. So, and so basically, so since we are giving you all of these ideas of tabletop RPG games to play, obviously you're going to need some dungeons to throw into them.
You do, because the basis of everything, preface here. We're using the term dungeon kind of loosely here.
Yeah,
right?
It's a little loosey-goosey.
We're not doing, like, you know, the torch-lit corridors made of stone that are dripping moss. No. It is just a place for your players to encounter something, right?
Correct. Yeah. You know, they have that kind of iconic feel, right? Yeah. You're going to be spending a large amount of time in these dungeons or encounters or whatever it is that you're crafting. And so the best thing that we could do is to kind of open up our DM toolkit and show you what it is that we do. How do we build dungeons? What are the things? What are the tools? Free, not free? You
might say it's a little peek behind the screen.
A little peek behind the screens. Like you said, we're talking a little loosey-goosey when we use the phrase dungeon. This could be things like, you know, space stations or semi-trucks or wastelands or insert flavor here. We've run through a wide variety of different kinds of games.
We have. And every one of them has a different flavor of theme to it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the things that won't be included here, though, things like hex crawls, we talked about that a little bit with Mythic Bastion Land. world maps, other things like that. Those are for another episode. We'll talk about those down the road some other time. Today we're keeping it tight and focused in mostly on either battle maps or areas that you're going to have some kind of encounter.
Yeah. Something to move your party towards a goal.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's time that we should just jump right in, Finn. Both feet.
2 feet deep.
In the deep end of the pool. Let's just get into it.
Splash.
Where do we start, right? Like what's point number 1 on the create a dungeon checklist?
Well, the first thing we have to do, DG, is we have to figure out what kind of dungeon. What is the feel of your dungeon, right?
Yeah. If you're on a roller coaster in Disneyland, it's not the Disneyland roller coaster.
No.
Right? You're on a themed roller coaster. You're on the Star Wars roller coaster.
Yes, exactly.
You're on the Pirates of the Caribbean roller coaster.
Yeah. It's
got a theme.
It's not just the Disneyland roller coaster.
It's not just a roller coaster. It's gotta get you hooked and brought into it. So that theme is super important.
It is. And so, I mean, themes, we're talking like everything and anything under the sun. It just has to encompass the whole dungeon. So like a horror filled dungeon would be like something that's got, as long as it's okay with your table, because session 0.
Previous episode about session 0. Yes, that's right.
We're talking like body horrors and jump scares and stuff like that, right? But for the most part,
ultimately driving towards what's the purpose of this dungeon? Why are we making it, right?
Yes.
What do we expect our players to be coming through?
Yes. It needs to have a purpose. Well, asterisks. Because it doesn't actually have to have a purpose.
It does have to have a purpose, at least in the sense, like, it could be a throwaway encounter, but the purpose is for the players to get to the thing. If the players wanted to hunt down the goblin encampment, okay, well, the purpose of your dungeon is to create a goblin encampment. That makes sense, right?
Yes,
because if the players crawl into a cave and it's a single goblin standing there holding a flag, well, that's not exactly an encampment, so to say. So now you already know it's got to sprawl out a little bit.
Now, if there were 3 goblins standing there holding the flag, then that becomes an encampment. And
that's a good point. That is a good point.
No. Anything more than 3 is a crowd, so.
But basically, yeah, so we need to define why this dungeon exists. Ultimately, as the GM, what is it that we're going to do with this? Is it a cult hideout? Is it a derelict space station? Is it a highway that's maybe a little too deserted? Something along these lines, right? The players are going to enter this space. What should it be?
Again, this should it be could be anything. It could be to find the MacGuffin at the end of it. It could be simply to wipe out everything in this dungeon, right? To clear it out. That's lots of parties do that. They just clear dungeons, or they go treasure hunting, or whatever. Determining whether or not the dungeon serves a story purpose, or if it's like a side quest kind of thing that doesn't really lead to anything. That's up to you, right? That is up to you to decide. At the time, even.
Yeah. Maybe it's a completely one-off situation you had to prepare because your party has this incredibly short attention span and they chase every tiny little thing down. Like we mentioned the goblin encampment, but maybe they're like, oh, there's a special rock. That special rock belongs to this type of thing. Quick, we must find it. No, it's just a rock. Just leave it alone.
Exactly.
Focus on the story, players.
There is a point where you have to say to the players, look, it's just a rock. Let's get going.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Time's a clicking here.
Yeah, so if you can't come up with the purpose of it, then as a GM, that's your opportunity. Put the foot down. No, this isn't a thing. Please don't make it a thing. We're moving on. Otherwise, you need to essentially identify that purpose, and then that is essentially like your start and your end goal kind of idea. You've got the first 2 pieces to starting off from here.
I will say, if you are building dungeons for whatever reason, and you built this dungeon and you don't quite know how it would fit somewhere, don't throw it away.
No, it's always useful.
Tuck it into your portfolio. pull it out later when you need something, right?
Yeah. Even if it's not super useful now, we'll talk about modular dungeon design a little bit later. But everything you create is always useful. There is never something that you create and it's like, this is junk. Never throw it out. Stick it in a drawer. Maybe it's not good now, but one day you'll look at it and be like, you know what? It just needs this, and boom, up you go.
Or the right party will come along and boom, that is the perfect dungeon
ready
for
to
that
rock.
party. Yeah,
absolutely. So basically, the way when I'm creating dungeons, I like to start with a text-based version of what that dungeon includes. And I'll literally have either like a notebook or the Notes app on my phone. I personally use Word documents or Google Notes or whatever it's called, the Google Word version of things.
Yep.
And I will literally write out the parts of my dungeon.
I personally use a program called Obsidian, and it is completely free. And it's this fantastic brainstorming kind of planning thing where you can connect all your different ideas into that. It's very cool. You basically write down what your theme is.
Okay.
The certain kinds of encounters that your party has to face, if there are any that they have to face. Mm-hmm. And then the dungeon should have some items hidden away, right? Because that's what dungeons do. There has to be something in there.
Yep.
Either at the end or along the way. Yep. Scattered.
And if the purpose of being in the dungeon is to collect the item, well, that item needs to now be on your list. The players need to be able to find it, right? Yes. Otherwise, I put in here, according to the rule set that I'm playing. So if it's Dungeons and Dragons, they identify pretty clearly in the DM's guide, this is the expected treasure for these types of encounters.
Yeah.
And so I'll literally write that out from the DM's guide. But whatever game it is that you're playing, make sure you're following that. It will go into my notes so that I know that right now, maybe I don't know what's in there, but I know the value, what should be in there. So by the time I get to the end of this, I'll have everything written out in terms of the money, in terms of the items, in terms of whatever it is that's supposed to be in that space.
You shouldn't have to know the specific items off the top of your head as you're building the dungeon.
No.
You don't know what level the party's going to be at when they reach that dungeon.
Exactly.
If you even happen to use it for this campaign, right?
And that's a really good point, because I find that when I'm creating stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, not even just dungeon, literally just creating things, I have insane amounts of analysis paralysis, and I will get stuck and caught on some of the smallest things, right? And so if I have to stop and go, okay, hang on a second, this dungeon is going to have a sword, and what does the sword do, and where did the sword come from? And then I start writing history for something. And the next thing you know, I haven't even made any progress on my dungeon. I've just created this like anthology of the sword kind of thing.
DG stopped dungeon building and he's world building.
That's right. And so it's important to keep at this point in the game, we're keeping things really, really light, right?
Yes.
You want to ensure that we have the bare bones of our dungeon. The foundation is here. We can always come back and fill it back up later, but it's just getting the concept down is the most important part at this point.
We got that big old ugly fisheye lens on everything.
Yep.
We want a wide angle shot.
Wide angle. That's right. Yeah, like we're not even talking about like how many rooms specifically it is.
No.
We're simply just identifying what it is, why are we here, what is inside the space. And then something that I do specifically identify in these, I will, if it's a large dungeon, I will mark off how many rest spots need to be included in here. And the reason for that is because typically 1 in every 4 to 6 encounters, game rules specific, whatever it is for your game rules. But I find with D&D, it's like 4 to 6-ish, sometimes 4 to 8, depending.
That's a good number.
I try to include 1 long rest per that number. And the reason for is I'm expecting the players to use their resources and their short rests to kind of bide the time from the beginning to that long rest. If you put too many long rest points in there, your players aren't going to be challenged. And if you don't put enough in there, they're probably not going to make it through.
That's right.
I find that it's incredibly helpful not to mark down where they are, but simply just to identify that the dungeon needs to include X number of rest spots. Because then when I'm architecting the actual dungeon, I'll mark off a room that's got like a one-way entry with the ability to bar it or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Somewhere safe.
If the players miss it, that's on them. Right?
Yeah.
I've given them the ability to rest there. If they choose not to rest there, then that's not my fault. I created the place. It's up to them whether or not they want to use it.
You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
That's right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. So I find that to be incredibly helpful to identify.
Yeah. Again, we are not getting too deep into specifics.
No,
here.
just a high level. That's why we're writing it down. We're not drawing anything. We're not doing it. We're simply just writing it out. And I like the concept of that Obsidian product. By the way, all of the products that we're talking about, the free ones, I mean, you could obviously Google search all of these, but we'll put a bunch of links in the description below, especially the free utilities. We'll be talking about a few a little bit later here. Just check the description for those, and we'll get you a direct link out to the product.
After we have our outline and our big-brained idea sitting on our paper, and we go and look at it and go, okay, now what, geniuses? That's when we sit down and we go scratch your head a little bit and go, well, okay, we need to make a dungeon now. Like, we have to draw this out.
It's time to create the outline.
Real. Yeah, it's got to get real now. There's a lot of tools out there. Mm-hmm. Some free, some paid. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pocketbook's as deep as you want it to be with these things, right?
It's just like anything out there, right?
Entry is free, but
if you want to throw money at it, you'll get the best product by spending the most money, but that doesn't mean the most fun or the most user-friendly, right?
Yeah.
Do you want those like absolute professional critical role level maps? Okay, sure. But that's going to cost you time and money and a whole heck of a lot of effort, right?
It is, yes.
There's people who've dedicated their lives to literally building these maps, right?
They make them.
They do it as a career. So, I mean, the sky's the limit from there. But we want to talk about kind of like, what does the everyday Joe type of person want to do for something like this, right? And even further than that, to splinter it even further, we're also talking about local play, so actual around the tabletop. We're talking about virtual play online. We're also talking about you could do this for solo play, et cetera, right? So there is a wide variety of tools and resources. They come in every shape and size. They come in free. They come in paid. You've got digital tools. You've got hand tools. You've got all kinds of things. But above all, right, and since we're talking about the basics at this point, the most basic way to do this is obviously pencil and paper.
It's a pencil and paper.
Chances are you've got a pencil. Chances are you've got a piece of paper. And if you don't, ask a neighbor or a friend.
Yeah, scribble it down on the back of an envelope.
Yeah, there's a lot. It does not have to be pretty.
You can use a pen. I'll let you.
Yeah, I don't like using pens when I'm doing this because I erase a lot. But you can get erasable pens.
You can get erasable or scribble it out. Throw it out.
I like pencils, but
I do too. Yeah, pencil and paper is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is by no means has to be lined, grid, anything. It can be just straight, plain brown paper if you want.
Some of my very first dungeons I've created them with sticky notes, right? You can use index cards as well and literally write on the sticky note, entrance, stick it on the wall. Then you write hallway, stick it above the entrance. Then you write dining hall and stick it above the hallway, right? And you literally can build your dungeon out that way. Just simply to visualize the space, the rooms, and then from here, how many rest spaces am I going to need? How much encounters am I going to have? Et cetera, right? So it can be as simple as that.
Or it can be...
You can continue to level it up a bit.
You can level it up. You can use cardboard. You can use... if 3D printers are very popular these days, so you could get somebody to print off some 3D models
absolutely.
Terrain models, dungeon tiles, sorry.
Yeah.
and set them up and build them as you go. And then, that sounds like a headache though.
That's a lot of work.
I would start with your notebook.
Yep.
Pencil it in.
Yep.
Get the gist of it. And then from there, you can
expand.
Zoom in further, right?
I like, specifically for dungeon creation, I think it costs like $3 at the Staples in town here for a coil bound grid paper notebook.
Yeah.
They're little grids already. So in order to build your dungeon out and have it sized appropriately, because the thing I like about the grid paper is that you can literally draw your map in pencil and be like a real basic drawing of it. And then take that and literally either like you said, the 3D printer route or the cardboard tile route or anything you want to make it look fancy. That's how you can make it look fancy. Or the other option, if you're going virtual, you can literally take that design and pump it into a dungeon creator, right?
And your grid is there.
And everything is there. And if you don't want to do the physical route, there are a wild amount of digital options, and there's a ton of free ones. Like really good free ones.
Really good. First off, DonJon. Gotta shout out to DonJon.
Love. I've been using DonJon for years.
Forever. So they got all sorts. It's a generators is what you go there, you scroll down the sidebar and you find what you want to generate, you click it and it pops it up.
Boom.
Ta-da.
So all the stuff we just said before about like planning out the thing, if you just need a dungeon, you click on the one that says random 5-room dungeon, you click one button and you have a ready built dungeon. It's done for you. Simple.
This is Finny's Dungeons.
Very basic.
I like the roll tables and I like DonJon. Click, done. I can fill it in afterwards. I need somebody to make me the basic layout of the dungeon, and then I can put in there what I need. And
sometimes it's nice to have that because even if you don't use it specifically one-to-one, it gives you a little bit of inspiration into, okay, I like the way that this is designed. Let's change this room from a 10 by 20 to a 10 by 40 because we need additional space in this in order to do whatever.
Because I'm going to drop a big dragon in this.
Right.
And you're going to encounter it.
Exactly.
And he needs room.
so I mean, if you haven't been to the DonJon's website, again, all the links are in the description, but these generators are great. And oftentimes when I'm DMing, I will have that page up because it's got like name generators and like the city name generators and all that kind of stuff. Literally one click, boom, there you go. There's your answer and away you go.
My favorite thing to do as a player, of course, is to ask the NPC's name.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Always. Or where do they live?
Yep.
What street are they on?
Exactly. Just make sure that when you use these generators and you get that information that you're writing it down in your DM notes.
Mark it down.
Because the players will ask you back again and you can't generate it again.
Unless that NPC is going to die right now.
That is another option, I guess. If you don't want to remember it, just make sure that it doesn't stick around long enough.
They never come back. But maybe you have your own dungeon built.
Like we were saying earlier.
Out of your head, into the paper, ready to go. And you just need something to make it pop. There's a product called DungeonMapDoodler. Now, I have never actually used these, but
I've messed around with pretty much every single one of these products. DungeonMapDoodler is nice because if you like that pencil drawn look, right? If you build your maps and they've got the little hash marks all the way around, right? Like the DMs who do the pencil drawing, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I like that.
This is your product because you literally can click and drag and it will build a room out. So you want to build a square, you click the shape button, you draw a square, boom, there you go. You got the square, it's got the little hash marks all the way around. You want to add a hallway onto it, click and drag, boom, now you got a hallway onto it. It is very basic. This is not going to pop off the screen and have the tables and the box and all the little, the scratches in the hardwood floor. It is very much a pencil drawing type of concept, but it will take your map that you've got and literally create a digital version of it that you can now export that video, You can just export this image out and pump it into whatever virtual tabletop of your choice. We'll talk about virtual tabletops here in a second, but that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Now, Dichi, you've been holding out on me. You have. This is the first I'm hearing about this.
It's a great product. Yeah. DungeonScrawl is another product. It basically does the same thing. It's just another thing. It's a little bit different, right? It's just, there's literally limitless tools out there that are exactly like this, right? And the only way that you're ever going to know which ones are right for you is to try them out. So these ones are free. There's literally no harm. Look, go to the website, draw yourself up a map. If you like the way it looks, great. You're good. Do it up, right? There's another tool that I'm particularly fond of in this same vein. Again, it's free too. It's called RPG Map Editor 2. It's clean and simple, but for the people that wanted that extra little pop, they want those objects on the map. They want the floor to look like floor. Yes, yep. They want to have doors that look like doors on it.
As one does when they get further along.
This will give you that newer style of dungeon. Is it perfect? No. There's stuff that's behind a paywall, right? It's going to be like, Inkarnate does a free version of map building that's very similar as well. But this one works well for, again, the quick and dirty if you need to build something out based on what you're doing. So again, we're just layering, right? Leveling up and leveling up, leveling up. Play through them, check them out, see what you think. And then once you're done building here, then it's time to move over into virtual tabletops.
Yeah. Now, virtual tabletops have become extremely popular in the last 5 years since the time that was lost. Because you can sit down and you can feel like you're playing a game with friends.
Yep.
Without being anywhere except for in front of your computer.
For sure.
Or mobile phone even.
It's close. It's close. It'll never replace in-person gaming for me.
It never replaces, but it does the trick.
It's as humanly close as you can get. If you cannot get unfortunately for us, we're in locations that don't allow for our group to come together locally. So virtual tabletops fills that piece. So, we turn our cameras on, where our microphones on. We stream the game as well. Our Dungeons and Dragons game, we stream it on Sundays. But the thing for me for virtual tabletops, nothing ever replaces the feeling of actually rolling dice. Ever. No. It's just I love the real, and we've done virtual tabletops with real dice before, and even then, it feels a lot better when we're doing it that way.
It feels a lot better, but you have to trust your players.
You know that there's a lot of dice fudging going on when you do it that way. The DM's got to be okay with that. The group has to basically all be along the same lines. The funny thing is, I roll so poorly that if I'm like, oh, look at that, and I haven't rolled under a 10 all night, they're gonna question me. So I'm always on my best behavior. It's a little
suspicious.
I'm always on my best behavior when we're rolling real dice. But
so specifically, we play on Fantasy Grounds Unity, which is just Fantasy Grounds now because they dropped the regular one.
It's just what it is.
We play on Foundry, VTT. We've played on Roll20 before. Yep. There's
Owlbear Rodeo.
Owlbear Rodeo.
There's a lot and more. And Dungeons and Dragons is coming out with their own. Yeah. Well, they have their own, but they're going to do something different. Right? The 3D type of thing.
It's complicated.
And I mean, as we go forward in time, obviously there's going to be more of these. They're going to get better. They're going to do their things. You're going to have to learn more. But the idea here is that you essentially have a play space online that you, as the DM, can host a game for your players to come and literally play the games. And you all buy virtual books and you all do all the things. Something that I like about the VTTs is that it's like in Fantasy Grounds, when you roll an attack, you don't have to thumb through the book and be like, wait a second, how did that attack work again? What was the check again? You literally click the button.
Everything's
programmed.
And if you need to know how it works, you can click the little cog and figure it out.
Yeah, I think hovering over the button will even tell you what it is.
You can go into the PDF in Fantasy Grounds.
That's right. Yeah, you can pull up the
read
entries.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits there, but for all the good things, the biggest pro for in-person play to me is literally being in person. There's something about sitting around the table too. It's got a different energy is all. So
it is completely wild. While free maps can do the job of like looking okay, the best maps are made with the other the premium tools.
Let's just be real, the paid ones, right?
The paid ones.
If that's what you're going for, if you want those pro looking maps and you want to create them, you're gonna have to shell some coin out. We can talk about some of the map creators, but all is not lost, Finny, because you don't have to make them.
No, you don't.
No, there are thousands on thousands on thousands of creators out there. We mentioned briefly earlier before. People do this as a career. There are maps out there. If you just simply need a map, again, there are free and paid services here. You could pay somebody on Patreon, search them out. There's tons of creators that do this.
The Patreon subscriptions, when you sub to their Patreon, you get access to all of their content. Like, we're talking thousands of maps they have created by hand.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
And you can pay them that one time and collect the maps, or keep paying them to support them. Obviously, that's what they do for a job. So
that is all completely up to you. Because again, the content's only as deep as your pockets are.
That's right, exactly. And I mean, and I think it's important. It's important to me, especially to ensure that we always give you the ability to do this in a way that's not going to break the bank, right? Like I'm not a rich person, so I have to, beg, borrow, and steal as much as possible, in order to make my games the way that they are. I do pay for certain maps. There are creators where I'll throw them a couple bucks because what they do with them is witchcraft, honestly. Like, there's people who just have a knack for this type of thing, but there are also areas where you can get these for free. For example, there's the subreddit r/battlemaps, where if you just need a map, you can go to that subreddit, do a search for whatever it is that you're looking for, a church, a lab, a battlefield, whatever it is. And there's a really good chance that somebody has created that map and shared it to r/battlemaps, in which case you can literally open the map, right click it, save it, import it into your VTT of choice, and away you go. So there's free and paid options just like there is everything else. But if you just need a map in a hurry, this is a quick way to do that too.
And masters of pen and paper are huge proponents of free and quick.
That is definitely the best. Yeah. Don't steal people's creative work, but if they offer it for free, collect them, keep them in a folder. Even if, and this is something that I do, and I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about creating dungeons, I will take these maps and I literally pump them into a folder on my computer that I have called maps. And it's like city maps, forest maps, dungeon maps, castle maps, lab maps, etc., 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 etc. And that way, if I'm creating a dungeon that has that theme, I can literally go into my already owned maps, see if I have one that matches, pull that out and start creating it from there. It's just a different way of creating. Yeah. It's the same process, just a little bit in different order. That's all.
But if you if you feel the urge,
now that we got the free talk out of the way,
to make your own maps, because everybody loves it.
Let's be real. You're gonna make your own maps.
You're gonna try it.
You can only ride on somebody else's maps for so long.
Some of you may fail, and that's a chance I'm willing to take. And you'll go back groveling to the people that you paid your Patreon to grab the rest of their maps.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with that. That is good. That is completely normal, because I can 100% attest to the creation of maps is one of the most like soul sucking things that I have to do as a DM, because it's 100% my fault. But when I'm creating these maps, I'm like, I'm like, no, that bowl needs 3 apples in it, not 2 apples. And oh no, that apple's crooked. It doesn't look good enough. And I like literally will futz with little things on a table for 45 minutes instead of just creating the map, because the players don't care. The players aren't going to go and look at that bowl of apples and be like, wait a second, that one doesn't look like it fits. If it's obvious,
those 2 apples are copied and pasted.
If it's obvious, they're probably going to say something. You as the GM, not where I get to, I'm like, no, it's literally I was lazy and I didn't want to change that. But yeah, that is a thing.
Back to making the maps. We have had success with a program called DungeonDraft. That again is a paid program and it's got a whole slew of different items and objects to place everywhere and to turn and things. DungeonDraft, layer upon layer of it.
Yeah, DungeonDraft is good. I don't know if it would be my first recommendation. It's the one that I have the most experience with, but basically it's like a shell. So you buy the program, it has a couple things in it, but then you pay people who build assets to pump them into here, right? So you kind of populate. The one benefit that DungeonDraft has over a lot of the other ones, though, is it's 100% offline. So you do not need to be online in order to use this product.
It's fairly simple.
It's pretty simple.
Use. Like I sat down and I picked it up without trying too hard. Another one we've used is Dungeon Alchemist. Now, I have used Dungeon Alchemist extensively.
Dungeon Alchemist is the exact polar opposite of DungeonDraft.
This is, so basically what Dungeon Alchemist is you make a room and it populates by AI or procedurally generated maybe.
They kind of use them interchangeably, but that's kind of the concept,
It works really good for small rooms. It does not work great for large rooms.
Big, long, sprawling rooms.
10 hex by 10 hex, so 50 by 50 room does not work very good. You'll get like 30 tables in there with 16 chairs each.
And then you're in there and you're kind of noodling around,
you're deleting and
stuff.
moving. It's a bit. But for the smaller, like the 5 by 5 rooms, it works perfectly.
And that one was it's a one-time purchase.
It's a one-time purchase.
They're regularly updating it, which I think that is really cool. The one thing that I liked about Dungeon Alchemist, though, is that specific models or assets are available in the Steam Workshop. So you can buy Dungeon Alchemist on Steam and then go to the Steam Workshop and literally add the models into your game. There's so many. There's so many in there.
And you just subscribe to the model and it automatically plops it in. And you can just dump it in.
So
it's
cool. And it makes it easy to build quick maps too.
Yeah, and I want to say it's like
it's really not it's inexpensive. Most of the products that are here, these map builders, are reasonably priced. DungeonDraft's a little bit more expensive because, like I said, you buy the program and then you buy the assets. So you've kind of got a two-shotter there. Dungeon Alchemist, again, I look at it as like the quick one-shot. We got a guy in our group who uses Inkarnate quite a bit
for
almost everything.
Yeah. And it looks really nice. I like the styles of Inkarnate. Now, I have never played around with their Inkarnate.
I kicked the tires a little bit. They offer a free version. I had mentioned it before, but that is one that you can go, and it's Inkarnate, like Ink INK ARNATE. So if you search that one out, I'll put a link in the description as well. But
and then, last but not least, we've, of course, we're big fans of Humble Bundle. Every now and then they have a program called Campaign Cartographer 3.
Yeah, it pops up regularly on Humble Bundle, I've noticed.
At least once a year, This is an amazing program. It is by no means a simple program.
This one's complicated, and it's massive, too.
It's huge.
Because the bundle typically comes with all of the add-ons, right? Like
it comes with
everything. Cartographer program. It builds maps of all shapes and sizes.
I am currently trying to figure out how to use it. It's again, it is very big, it is very powerful. it is incredibly difficult to use if you don't know anything about CAD programs, because it is built on a CAD program.
YouTube is going to be your best friend here. There are countless how-to guides on there.
Believe the bundle comes with a
it does come with like a tutorial
user
type
manual
of thing.
as well.
I'd still recommend the YouTube. I'm a visual learner, so you could read and you could read, but honestly, I just need sometimes to see somebody say, click this button, click here, drag here, do this, and then this is how you get it. And I'm like, got it, perfect.
Their tutorial does do a step-by-step on how to build the map that they have in their tutorial. So I did go through that. It took me about an hour and a half to build the first map, but it did click a lot of things that I needed to learn. But but those are the programs that we've used.
And again, there's hundreds. There's so many programs out there that do the same thing. So check these ones out. These would be the ones we'd recommend, but hit us up in the comments if you have one.
Yeah,
let us know.
If you use something else, please let us know. Well, our email will be at the end. The comments are always open. That would be cool. I always like finding new things.
Yeah. As with all DM creation stuff, I kind of look at it like the concept of like you're growing a plant here, right? The dungeon, we're starting small.
Yes.
The stuff we did at the start, the Word document that outlines all the things, that's our seed, right? We're literally creating the thing that we need, and then we will slowly start expanding, right? So, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, the idea of analysis paralysis can completely halt your thing. Literally create what you need and then build off of it, right? We're talking about encounter maps at this point, but world maps, your world creation, any of these things, it's the same line of thought.
This is map agnostic.
Yeah, it is literally like, as the DM, as you're creating things, this is the mantra to keep, is that, we start as the seed, we build the specific stuff, and then we build and we build and we build and we build and we build until we have our completed project or the plant has fully grown, right? That is going to eliminate that overwhelm feeling and the shutdown where we're now no longer working on our project.
The seed would be like the MacGuffin at the end of the dungeon.
I need a room for this.
They need the sword of slime slaying. Okay, we'll put it here. Next, we need something to guard that sword. Well, is it like an encounter? Is it a trap? Is it a puzzle? How do they get to that? Right? And then we build after that and more and more and more until all of a sudden, before you know it, your dungeon will be too big.
Yeah, you'll look down and be like, hold on a second,
you'll
I
have to
cut
scale
this.
it down.
I'm going to kill the party if I keep it like this, right? Or just add another restroom and they'll be fine.
Or just,
But that's the concept of it, right? Stay focused on the stuff that you must, right? I must insert whatever it is here. I must put this. I must make sure that the players have a way to collect this sword. I must create someone to guard the sword. I must make a room that's large enough for an encounter for the guard who is a animated knight or an animated group of knights, right? I must now populate this room that is the table where the Templar sits, that has rotting food on it, and blah 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 blah, right? And you can see how all of a sudden it just kind of grows out and grows out and grows out.
I must not kill the party too quick, so they have to rest.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. The concept kind of quickly pivots from what we're talking about here, and we mentioned a little bit earlier as well, but I build a lot of modular stuff.
Modular stuff is
very so
cool.
So the concept of this room with the sword of slime slaying, maybe you don't need that right now. Maybe you were writing something else and you were like, this would be a cool idea. I sketch it out and I stick it in my box of like things for the future, right?
Future DG's problems.
Maybe it's 4 rooms in a dungeon. It goes over here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just
maybe it's half.
Maybe it's
built.
a magic item. It goes over here. Everything just goes over here.
Yeah.
Because there will be a point in time where I'm creating a thing. The players are like, we need to go and clear the ghost out of this castle, and I'm like, There's where I put my Sword of Slime Slaying. I grab my little 4-piece dungeon. I stick it on top of the 3 rooms I've already got created. And there we go. Now I've got my full map. So the ability to like cut and paste these rooms together is so powerful, right? And oftentimes what'll happen is the players will say they're going to do something thinking that you're caught off guard, and you'll just flip the page, grab the map, put it down, and you're literally presenting yourself like a magician in front of them. Like, how did he know that we were going to do that kind of thing?
Little did you know, I didn't know.
By the way, the other thing is, just because you used the room once before doesn't mean that it's now spent like an ammunition cartridge or something like that.
No. Why would you do that? That's wasteful.
Oftentimes what I will do with a dungeon or with an encounter that I've created is I will rotate the map, right? So 90 degrees or 180 degrees. I'll change the orientation of it. I'll cut 1 or 2 rooms off and I'll paste 1 or 2 new rooms onto it. And I've got a completely new dungeon. Oftentimes you'll have to re-theme it, right? If we go from like a fantasy dungeon to a space station, obviously we've got to take all of the fantasy stuff out of the room and put the space station stuff in. But the core of the room, the encounters, the way that the room flows, that hasn't changed.
I dare say you could keep it fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, who knows?
You could. If you got 2 different rooms on either side of it, it is a completely different room now. Especially if you've rotated
if Star Trek can end up at the Renaissance Fair, I mean,
exactly.
We can make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Next up, what is a dungeon missing? Well, you have your MacGuffin, you have your encounter. Well, I think there should be
what kind
puzzles.
of encounter
Or traps.
Yeah,
traps. If I love traps.
Traps are fun. If you fill your dungeon up entirely with combat, your players probably aren't going to have a lot of fun. See previous episode about Session 0. If your players just want a combat simulator, hey, you go for it.
That is what they want. They will enjoy that. Play it. They don't want traps. They don't want puzzles.
Default ttrpg, regardless of what game system it is, you gotta sprinkle a little bit of spice into the dungeon as well.
A little something in there, yeah. Because if every door is unlocked and not trapped, that makes for a boring dungeon. The rogue's not there for anything then. He's just there to sneak attack, and that's all.
Yeah. And I mean, and the in-depth conversation about puzzles and traps is probably for another episode, because we literally could spend an entire episode talking about the creation of puzzles and traps, where to find inspiration for it, etc. But I will specifically say there's often times where I will literally create the encounter or the dungeon or whatever around the puzzle itself, right? I know that the players are going into this ziggurat. Inside that ziggurat, they're going to have to solve this puzzle, and then I sprinkle combat encounters around it instead of the other way around.
Because so instead of having the dungeon boss guarding the MacGuffin at the end, you have the puzzle vault, right? They solve the puzzle, the vault doors open, and there, standing, light shining down, is the sword of slime slaying.
Exactly.
Ta-da! Angel choruses and everything.
And think of Indiana Jones, right? That opening scene of Temple of Doom, where he's going to collect the idol. There isn't any enemies in this space. It's literally using his own intellect, his own knowledge of what he's getting himself into, and then avoiding traps and all of this stuff along the way. There's your puzzles and your traps, right? It doesn't have to literally be a quote puzzle where we're sliding tiles around in the room. It could be something as simple as filling a bag of sand to weigh the same amount as the idol that it's sitting on top of the altar.
As long as your players are using their noggins instead of their muscles, that's a puzzle. Because let me tell you, from a player's point of view, every puzzle is not a kindergarten puzzle.
That's right.
Whether or not the DM agrees or not.
Yeah. I mean, salting the encounters with puzzles or traps is the key to making sure that your players are staying engaged, right? Especially if you're doing the online, right? It's so easy to get distracted. Keeping things
previous episode.
Keeping things on the tracks and moving forward is crucial, right? And puzzles and traps and trying to get the players to think about the answers to these questions is a real solid way to keep them invested, as long as that's the type of game
I do enjoy pausing the game for the night on a puzzle so that the players can think outside the game about the puzzle, and they're like, I think I know what the answer is. After 4 days of contemplating it and losing sleep over it and obsessing over it.
To me, the last piece of the creation of dungeons is to consider the atmosphere itself. I think that plays a huge role, right? Yep. If you're having the players walk through a haunted mansion, the entire style and the flavor of that mansion should then help sell the story. And this is where, at this point where we've gotten to, if you give the players, a permanent marker on a piece of paper, and it's literally boxes on a map, and you're trying to just get them to imagine the haunted mansion, it's a lot harder than I can see the haunted mansion. I have music playing in the background that's helping sell the kind of feeling of it. There's an ambiance of like bats flying, of like distant screams, of the wind blowing, things like that, right? Tapestries on the wall, creaky doors, things that are going to help secure and anchor your players down to this world. Those are the things that at this point in the game, we've got the dungeon built, we've got the monsters put in, we've got the traps in, we've got the encounters built, we've got the magic items, we've got the restrooms created, the treasures involved. This is now the spice and the flavoring that goes on top.
You need something to tie it all together. Yeah. And there are multiple different audio programs to do this with. Yeah. Right? I'm looking at you, Sirenscape. I'm looking at you. There's an atmospheric one. I forget what it was called, though. You could type in whatever you wanted, and it was just a bunch of different tracks looped. Yeah. You do a quick Google, find those. That works really great for your in-person as well as your virtual tabletop games. And the thing is,
too, like, you don't have to make it complicated. Go to YouTube, type in, howling wind,
haunted
right?
mansion.
If you type in like RPG music or RPG ambience, there's channels dedicated to this kind of stuff as well.
You'll find at least 17 2-hour-long videos of
that
just
thing
that
itself,
music.
And you put a little Bluetooth speaker in the corner, start the video on your phone, and there you go. There's your music, right?
Ta-da.
If you're online, you could send the link to everyone and go 1, 2, 3, click, and there everyone's got the music as well. There's free ways, there's easy ways, and then there's paid ways. Sirenscape has a built-in plugin that allows each player to click a link and hear the same thing everyone else does, but there is a cost associated to that as well. So the music and sound, it really sells the experience, right? It's made a huge difference in our group.
It does. It makes a huge difference. We were originally
just
playing
silent.
without music or sound effects and just silent, and it was
it's
awkward.
It's tough.
Oh no! I assumed everybody that did what I did was bring YouTube up in the background,
did it yourself,
and play it to themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. If a battle started, I swap over to battle music.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Now that gets me going. Yeah.
Too cool. I mean, that's about all that I have for the creation of stuff.
Yeah, that's the gist of create. And now your mileage may vary. You will do things different from how we do things. You'll have a different kind of mindset to approach this, but this is how we go about it. And that's just what we're trying to do here. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Things. Yeah. You got to just throw it out there. The thing is that most groups will be perfectly fine with whatever it is that you do. If you're the one who chose to sit as the DM or the GM, the players around the table are very likely thankful that they're not, right? Like, so it would be in your best interest to just cast the line into the water and see if you catch a fish, you know?
And honestly, if you're the type of DM that just throws the grid paper sketch pad down in the middle of the table and says, you start here.
We're going to draw it as we go.
And we'll deal with this as we go.
I mean, old school D&D had it that the players created their own maps.
Exactly.
Right? The DM had the master map, and they would say, you see a corridor in front of you that runs for 20 feet, and the players pull out their books, and they're literally sketching the map out as they go, right? Or, I mean, they didn't have to, but they probably didn't survive the dungeon. But that is the thing. So to think how we've come, right? Kind of is like final thoughts, right? Like, obviously without dungeons, we don't got a game, right? We just have the role play part of the RPG here, right? So it's important to really nail it. You have to start somewhere, and hopefully what we've mentioned here about the free and the paid tools, before you've got this kind of sizable collection of maps and dungeons and all this other stuff, like I mentioned, the modular components of things, right? I really like the concept of building a dungeon and changing it for something else, because if I know it worked in 5e, I know the flow of it, the concept of it will work for other games. I just have to reflavor it, right? And that's the key to keeping things balanced and fun, right? At the end of the day, like I said, you're the GM. You're the person who sat in the chair. They could have sat in it if they wanted to, but it was you. So first off, good on you for taking that on. And secondly, if they complain, well, take them out.
I will say that maps get a rap for being for combat-oriented, games. For the theater of mind games, you also have to have a map.
Yeah.
The DM has to have a map. You have to know what to describe as you progress through the dungeon. You can't just sit down with the rule book and say, okay, let's play this game.
Gotta have.
Let's play into the odd.
To have some kind of context.
Yeah, you have to have an
idea.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's all for this one. I think, Finny, it's time for us to jump right on into the post-pod.
The post-pod.
Post-pod.
The
post-pod.
Post-pod.
That one was a little funky. But it is what it is.
Went all over the place.
Up, little down.
We'll see if it pops back up again.
Finn, I wrote the post-pod question today, and I'm excited for this.
Okay.
In your games, do you allow the silly willy type names, or prefer the more serious in-game names? Or, to be a little bit more to the point, is Sir Fartface of the Butts clan allowed with the other knights at your table?
As the player of Paladin Man. Yes. Yes. The goofy, silly willy names are most welcome at my tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not going to interfere the game or sidetrack it too much, I'm all for it. Because, again, rule number one, we're here for fun, right? That doesn't mean you can't have a serious name. Unless it is a circus-themed game that we are playing, then you have to have a silly name. What about you?
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I think that this is the type of thing that needs to be hashed out in a session 0. If you are going to have a very serious game, and that is your DM style, is you don't want any of that jokey stuff at your table, you need to identify it to your players. I think most DMs are perfectly fine with it. It's really funny to be the DM and be like, okay, Sir Barristan, what do you do? Okay, great. Sir Kylie, what do you do? Okay. Sir Fartface, what do you do? And like every time the table's going to laugh. Every time, right?
Yeah.
As long as the group is the type to be okay with that. If you're the type of player that's not funny, we're here for serious, that's not okay, then you need to find your people, right? And make it crystal clear to the DM that's not the type of game you want to play. But I like those funny names. I think it makes those serious moments that much more engaging, just because of how ridiculous it is, right? I have no problems with that. I think if that's how you're going to have fun, then as your DM, I've at least done my job correctly at that point.
it also makes those characters pretty
absolutely.
memorable.
Everyone's going to remember Sir Fart Face of the Butts Clan. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's all for episode 25. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, downloading, streaming, however you got your hands on this podcast. You can find new episodes of this podcast every 2 weeks on any of the major podcast areas, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube at youtube.com/@DadGamingOnline. We also stream Dungeons & Dragons every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time over on twitch.tv/DGOnline or on the YouTube channel if you'd like to go to it there.
We do also have a email, mastersofpenandpaper@gmail.com. Hit us up with all the different
tell us all about your
tools that you guys use or
your strategies,
your organizational things you do. Yeah. We also have a Discord with a ttrpg channel specifically in there for us and you guys. There will be a link in the description for that as well. Pop in, have a good time with us. We just hang out and talk nerd stuff all the time.
It's a great place
and
to
food.
be. That's it. That's all for episode 25. 26 is the next one. Make sure to tune in for that. And until then, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a good one.